Okay, well, I am Pete Kramer, and I'm with Pete Kramer Media here with another episode of Lights Up, the high school musical podcast. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome a woman whose phone rings when people want to get serious about vocal training. She is Celeste Simone. Welcome, Celeste.
Welcome, welcome you. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's so great to see you. I'm going to put you in the featured spot right there. There you go.
Okay. Oh, that's better for the illusion and the finger
And
pointing.
that's it. I love the fact that God is pointing to your head saying, "This I have created."
Well, this is more about singer and teacher and how we touch each other.
It's
That's
the
what that
it's the
is. And we
ceiling
know it's,
from the
well, from
creation.
the
I love it.
Sistine Chapel, right? Exactly. So
Love it.
ask
Love it.
away, Pete.
Great. So we have so much to talk about, and I cannot let you leave without sharing some actual actionable, useful tips for singers who are about to appear in their high school musicals, because that's kind of the game here. So we'll talk about your students, some of whom are on Broadway famous, like big names. But first, let's talk about you a little bit. Where'd you grow up, Celeste?
I grew up here in Rockland County in Blauvelt, and I went to Tappan Zee High School. And while I was at Tappan Zee, we had a wonderful music department at Tappan Zee. Jim Hughes and Marvin Von Deck, who's still around in the county. And my parents were aware that there was a voice there. So I then went to Manhattan School of Music preparatory division for 4 years. So I missed all the football games. And I went every Saturday to Manhattan School of Music, which was the greatest experience. I was training more classically there, which was enough. Everything that happens, I believe, happens for a reason. Anyway, went to Manhattan School of Music prep division, had the honor of working with Cynthia Auerbach from City Opera, was in the youth choir of Bernstein's Met. I mean, it was just a great experience. And then went on to college there, again, studying classical music. And the one thing that I am very adamant about is and I tell the students all the time, classical technique, the bel canto, is absolutely beautiful. And it's where beautiful singing started from, legato and just the romantic language. However, we do not sing Puccini or Torelli or Verdi the way we sing Jason Robert Brown, Passac and Paul, and Kander and Ebb. So maybe I'm going ahead of myself to skip because I hate talking about, anyway, whatever. So what happened is I went to Manhattan School and I had great training and great experience, but they were gearing me up to do opera. And when I graduated Manhattan School, I got on a stage and I realized I could make people laugh. So I started doing stand-up comedy and nightclub work. And then I did a little of everything. And that's what I wanted
Really?
to. Well, but you know what? I don't want, it was so long ago. It was so long
Sure.
ago, there aren't even YouTube videos of me, but I worked a lot. And I was blessed. I did a little TV, a little nightclub, 8 show a week theater, no Broadway, but I did 8 shows a week. I did Paper Mill and Goodspeed and wonderful houses. Okay. But what happened, and this is what we're talking about, is that I immediately, upon graduating, went out into the real world and no one taught me how to mix or belt. So here's a big lady, big funny lady. They want to hear a big voice. So I started giving them what they wanted and what they were paying me for. And this is what happened. And I show this to my students. There's a hemorrhaged vocal cord, there's a node, and there's a polyp. And that happened after graduation from Manhattan School while I was working. It was traumatic, but it was a great lesson because I then explored. First of all, we didn't have surgery back then to take the node off. You relearned. And that's when I learned the beauty of bel canto holds its place. Choral singing holds its place. And then if you want to do musical theater, you got to tweak the bel canto, tweak it just a little bit to celebrate Kander and Ebb, Lerner and Lowe, Rogers. And it's different. Some of
Mm.
it's the same. Rogers, that the golden age has legit, but a legit musical theater on a 15 or even a 25-year-old soprano is just a little different than singing a Verdi art song. So it's the technique I teach is based on the bel canto technique with tweaks to celebrate the music of today. And
I
after,
remember.
go on,
I,
I'm
I
sorry, I
remember.
could.
No, no, no. That's great. I love it. It's a great perspective. I remember I interviewed Tony Bennett once in my life, and I interviewed him about Harold Arlen because it was Harold Arlen's 100th birthday, and I wanted to. People have forgotten Harold Arlen, whether
Oh my
you know
God.
people don't know who Harold Arlen was, and I wanted to change that. So I talked to dozens of people about kind of a cubist approach to who was Harold Arlen. And Tony Bennett gave me about 15 minutes and he was amazing. And he said, Harold Arlen, for, I still approach him, he said, as with a bel canto approach. It's the words, it's the music, it's pure. And I don't do a lot of that flipping around like kids do these days where one note becomes 10. He said, I sing the melody and I sing the song, and
And
there's
the
a purity
lyric.
to that. And I didn't know, I think he was the first person I ever heard mention the word bel canto. I didn't know what that, I'm not a musical, I'm not a musician. Short story. I didn't audition for my first high school musical until I was in 11th grade at Las Cruces High School in New Mexico. I had never sung a song like, a musical theater song. So I auditioned with Teddy Bear Picnic. Um, and my director, Mr. Gaines, cast me in one of the world's greatest musicals, West Side Story, in one of two non-singing roles. I was Officer Krupke because, well, there you go. But bel canto, the idea is
Let me
there's a
interrupt. Bel canto, for those that don't know, all
please.
musical terms are in Italian. All dance terms are in French. Bel canto, bella, beautiful, cantare, to sing, beautiful singing is what it is translates as. Okay, go on.
So how does that? So how does that? I mean, I guess if you do it right, all singing should be beautiful. But how does that? How does that make it different from? Uh, oh, what a beautiful morning.
Well, first of all, it's about style. We have NISMA here in New York, and the kids, and most of the NISMA list is more classical. It is about understanding style and placement. I show at the first lesson, it's more of a lecture. I show them their vocal cords. You would be amazed at how many kids have taken voice lessons, don't even know what their instrument looks like.
Hmm.
And it's a pedagogy kind of lesson, the first parts of the body, because your instrument is your body, or your body is your instrument. So we have to know parts of it. Okay. So I show two. I'm a big one now. It's becoming kind of trendy, and it's on TikTok. The in through the nose and the mouth breathing, and they have this stuff called breathing tape, and you put it over your mouth so you breathe in through your nose. I've been preaching this for years because one of my greatest, I'm not going to say mentor, however, and I'll digress for a second. I had the honor of being on the Bel Canto Institute's board of directors for a number of years, run by a wonderful woman from the Metropolitan Opera, Jane Claviter. And there was a coach there, and his name was Gildo D'Annunzio. Now, if you look him up, he was in Hot Spot on Broadway, the original cast of Music Man. He was in the movie Bye Bye Birdie. And
Uh-huh.
about 30 years old, he said, you know what? I don't want to do this Broadway. I'm going to go back to my roots. And he went to the Metropolitan Opera. And he was Luciano Pavarotti's coach for 40 years.
Oh my God.
Gildo is, I know, Gildo is now 96 years old. And we talk, during the pandemic, we talked every Sunday with another person from the Bel Canto Institute. Now Gildo is 97, just moved out of his apartment in New York. But the point is he brought me to Luciano, and I could listen to him all day. So in the
Yeah.
first lesson, I show Now, here's a big difference if parents are listening. When a classical person usually teaches the breath to lift the soft palate, which is the soft part in the back, and then you get a more hooty or more classical sound. So for that, I show Leontine Price, first woman of color to sing at the Metropolitan. She breathes in through the nose and the mouth, but she lifts the soft palate. So she gets, and if you listen to Leontine Price, and I have an example I show the people. And I do this at Kristen's camp. Every year we have to see these videos. All right, so then the next video is a Luciano who breathes the exact same way, in through the nose and the mouth, but his soft palate is relaxed and then raises when he goes to high notes. But it's not a hooty sound. It's a kind of more just gorgeous. I'm not going to say extension of speech because there's warmth and tone and legato, but it doesn't have that darker sound. And that's the breath that I use, I teach, and I believe in, because I have many kids on Broadway. Kids, I even call Cheetah a kid. I have many students on Broadway that they do 8 shows a week, and Pete, they have not had vocal issues. Vocal issues come up when they've been sick and they've had to do a show and blah, blah, blah. And I have a little booklet I give to all my students, either online or when in person, and it's how to physically take care of your voice. So you asked me a question and I remembered what it was. How the difference between "Oh, What a Beautiful Morning" and say "To Mommy." Okay. They're both legato, but when you hear, oh God, I wish I could show it to you. When you hear Leontine Price sing "What I
Yes.
Did for Love," you want to laugh. I always say to the kid, it's like, "What I did." It's not stylistically, it's wrong.
Sure.
So, "What a Beautiful Morning" has legato and warmth and line, but the storytelling is more like talking.
Mm-hmm.
And classical music, it's not.
It's
I
not
don't think
conversational.
It's not conversational, exactly. So
Right.
there's a legit soprano in Laurie, but when you get too much vibrato and too much cover in it, it's not stylistically correct. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Sure. It's and I remember hearing John Denver do a duet with Pavarotti or Placido or one of
One
the
of those,
tenors,
yeah.
and it just sounded
Off.
like off, like that it wasn't there, and it wasn't that he wasn't hitting the notes. Obviously, he could hit every note he needed to, but it just sounded like it was a, a different car in the garage for sure.
Yeah. And I say to my kids all the time, because, when you first started teaching, you have to be the hero and you have to be right. God, I'm too old for that now. As long as you're not hurting yourself, that is not wrong. It's just different. When a
Mhm.
choral teacher wants the kids to do E wide, is that wrong? Yes, for my style of singing it is, but a choral teacher's job is to make everyone sound like one beautiful sound. My job is to make the singer sound like the one and only. And whenever anytime there's tension, I run the other way to find where there's no tension. So it's different style, a little different placement, different approach. I had a girl the other day, magnificent voice, but she's trying to sing pop. She doesn't get it in her voice. I never got it. I listened to,
Mm.
Puccini and Barbara Streisand, and I don't have those riffs. You talked about all the agility. Well, in the classical world, there was melisma, and there was Ricci who did the embellishments in the bel canto. We now riff, and in the jazz, Louis Armstrong started riffing when the words couldn't express his feeling. Now it
Right.
goes everything is too far nowadays. Everything, you know.
Well,
I'm an old,
so yeah, I
go
mean,
on.
you're the people who call you teacher are everyone from, I mean, Kristen Chenoweth, obviously, and Cheetah Rivera, who you mentioned, and Dee Dee Khan and Adam Chandler Barat, and singers never
Well, some of
stop
them don't.
meaning.
Adam doesn't study with me anymore, but he was with me when he was in high school, and I got him his first representation, his
Yeah,
first agent when he booked Next to Normal. I love him, and we're still dear friends, but he doesn't study with me anymore.
but
Um,
I guess the point is that people, vocalists, always need another ear and somebody to help them technically to figure out how to attack or how to approach a song. I reached out to Kristen, who said you're not only a dear friend and mentor, but you know how to handle a voice at any age. And I mean, Cheetah Rivera needed help.
well, the
Kristen
Cheetah
Chenoweth,
story, just so you know, I mean, this is about the voice. It's all pedagogy. This is singing through change of life for women.
uh-huh,
User's Guide to the Aging Voice. I
yeah,
mean, you don't. Cheetah came to me, she was 88 years old,
wow.
and she had never taken a voice lesson. And I said, Cheetah, what did you do? All those things. And first of all, I was so honored to be having her walk up my stairs. It was Cheetah Rivera.
The
Didn't
the
John? I mean,
original the original Anita in West Side Story had never had a vocal lesson.
not seriously, no. And
Really?
she would go, I say, what would you do, Cheetah? And I go, Mingy. And if the Mingy felt like it was in the pocket, she was good. What then happened was a beautiful friendship and a working relationship.
Mm.
Um, I taught her things, and in the lessons, she's Cheetah. It was. I could tell you tons of stories, but I won't, because it's not about the kids.
No, go ahead.
She would take 3 lessons a week. She had been a little ill and had work and wanted to get back into shape. So she would do 3 half hours a week. Sometimes she'd come, sometimes it would be virtual. Sometimes she'd have to cancel because Lisa, her delicious daughter, wasn't there to turn the thing on, or Rosie. I'm sure you've met Rosie, her assistant for 35
Yeah.
years. Anyway, long story short, I remember we had worked together for about a year, and she had a concert in LA, which I went out to. And one of the things we worked on that happens to older voices is the vibrato gets wide, and it can be called a wobble. Well, she
Mm.
had a little bit of a wide vibrato, and I said, Cheetah, do you want to get rid of that? I also work with Amy Irving, who's a little older also, and she's
Mm.
really terrific. Anyway, um, we talked about breath. We talked about, and the straw. I use the straw a lot, vocal therapy exercises. Anyway, she resisted in the most loving way, but when she got on that stage in California, the first time since coming back, I wept. She sang the same keys, and she sang them better than ever. I'm getting tingles. And when I was walking out of the theater, people were saying, oh, she sounds like she didn't age. Her voice sounds great. It was so triumphant for her, and for me as a teacher, because you're working with an icon. I was afraid,
Yeah.
what do I know? I'm an interloper. I don't know squat. And then Cheetah Rivera walks in my living room, and she worked hard. And, dancers are the best. The first time she came here, I love this story. It's not funny, but I love it. She stood next to me, and she was going to go, we were doing a B flat, and it was a B flat belt. And it needed a better placement. So I don't demonstrate a lot. I hated that with my teachers. Am I looking at you, or am I looking off to
You're
somewhere else?
you're looking great. You're looking
Oh,
fine.
okay. Um, so I don't like to demonstrate because I had my career. I was never famous, but I had a great 25 years. And I believe in my heart and soul that everything that happened brought me to being a teacher, because it's where I'm happiest. I didn't like missing Christmas Eve, and I didn't like traveling all the time. I still don't. Michael Orland, who's one of my dearest friends, musical director in LA, and he was musical director for 16 years on American Idol. He's come out to LA, come to Palm Springs. I just am not good at it. So anyway,
Yeah.
Cheetah. I was telling a story about Cheetah. What
Cheetah
was I
came
saying?
in and you're working on a B
Oh,
flat.
so we're working on a B flat. And so I demonstrated. And at the time, which I had a damn good B flat, C, whatever. And she just looked at me with her cheetah bravura, and out of the corner of my eye, I see her leg going up, 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 up. And she turns to me and she said, "So there." I can do the B flat with no problem, but you don't get me to put my leg up. But
She was just trying to get a leg up on you. That's all.
and she did. And she did.
Oh, that's
Okay.
wonderful.
I
That's
digress.
wonderful.
I did that as a stand-up also all the time. Where was I?
That's great. But the fearlessness of stand up is probably putting you in good stead too, though. That the idea that
Well, when they weren't laughing, I would sing.
there you go. There you go.
When I
So
used to open for Wayland Flowers. Do you remember Wayland Flowers and
of
Madam?
course, Waylon
I was
Flowers.
his, yeah, and I was his. The kids don't even know who he is. All I have to say is he had his own television show, and that validates him. He was
There you go.
wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And I never told jokes. I just sang. I let him do the jokes. Used to open for Rita Moreno too.
Wow. So you've done both Anitas. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. So one of the things that Kristen talked about is that she will come to you with problems, like what she said, whether it's a consonant problem or a vowel issue or just plain old voice placement. Celeste, what is a consonant problem?
Oh, jeez. It's easy to. Okay, it's for what is demanded of a singer today. And Kristen had a wonderful voice teacher, Florence Birdwell, who was more classically oriented. And Kristen still has the more legit sound in her voice in the passaggio, the passage, and her upper range. For Queen of Versailles, I was really thrilled with a lot of the mix that she did and where she chose. Look, she's a pro. She comes, I don't do much. I mean, I say thank you, God, for letting me attach my name to her, but she's a pro. And she's got Mary Mitchell Campbell, who's brilliant, A consonant problem is if the consonant stands in the way of the flow of the phrase. So she's a big one for consonants, and I love that. That's why you understand her words, I like vowel modifications that open up the vowels so that they can mix and belt without strain. When you belt with the soft palate up, you're going to hurt yourself. Mm-hmm. And there are many, many fine teachers out there. I have a list of people when I can't take somebody. Rita Harvey, who she's not only a wonderful singer but she's a wonderful teacher. I have people all over the United States that if I can't take, I want to recommend them to somebody good. I do have issues with teachers that don't understand the style of today and think they can teach belt. I feel like I can teach it because I went through craziness. Yeah. And I learned how to belt. And after this got better, I could do 12 sets a night and never have a vocal problem because of vocal placement.
It's a matter of knowing where, like, you're talking to Krupke, so you have to understand this. But are you? You're talking about placement, and you're talking about breath, and how you use that, how you use your instrument so that you're not doing it damage. But when you talk about placement, Celeste, and I apologize for the simpleness of this question. Is placement just about whether it's in your chest or your head? Can you can you can you
Sure.
really briefly talk about placement and what
You
that
said
means?
briefly. You know me already.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Okay, I never use the phrase chest voice. I know that we have resonating chambers in our chest. And when a teacher says, don't bring chest up, a lot of these, I don't care. The kids, I've done master classes at colleges when I've asked students that are in their last year of college define chest voice for me, and they look at me like a deer in headlights.
Mhm.
I simplify. It's hard enough to sing, and then even harder to be in this business. So we do have resonating chambers in our chest, but I call it the lower register. I
Mhm.
call the passaggio the passage or the break. And then when we go into our upper register, our soprano, in musical theater, we have a term, your legit voice. And yes, it does ring in the head, and yes, it can ring it, but it complicates it. Basically, the low register up to the passaggio with forward placement, not nasal, but forward placement on a line in the mask with support. When you can learn how to get up to the passaggio without flipping, that's where you learn how to mix and belt.
Okay,
I don't
that's
like,
a lot
yeah,
of
and
that's
I
a
don't,
lot of
I see voice teachers on a line and I go, I could never do that. One, because every student is different. I don't let every student belt. Some voices are just beautiful soprano voices. Let's mix a little, but don't belt. I
Mhm.
wish they could change the word for it, because so many of these, look, the high school productions are fantastic. But what has happened, and I kind of cringe a little, is that they've become like you're in show business, and all these paid to sing youth theaters where the kids get the leads. It is wonderful in many ways, but I
Sure.
think it's lost some perspective on the art of study.
Mhm.
I do 2 shows a year. Do your play, do a musical, if you want to do maybe one other musical, but they don't understand. I'm not going to generalize. Many of them are just about the show. I had a student last night. She didn't get the part she wanted. She's quitting. Oh my
Wow.
God, that gives me cringe things. Entitled.
Yeah.
It's about the craft. And you can learn whether you're in ensemble or whatever. I
Sure.
made my.
No, I get that. I get that. I mean, you've coached kids who I've seen on high school stages across the Hudson Valley for years, and these are standout kids. And I can tell. I mean, you can tell a Celeste Simone kid because they're the ones with the control. They're the ones who, like Alyssa McDonald, when she did Smile at Nyack High School, you feel like you're in the best possible hands as an audience member because
Or the
they
prom
get
last
it.
year. Nyack. Uh,
And
Suffern High School, Nyack High School. I have a lot of students there. I don't have Pearl River. I don't have Tappan Zee. And I have less and less high school students. But here's the thing. I say to them, and I say to all of them, whether they're 50, 40, 90, 20, whatever, I will take the joy out of singing for just a little bit,
Mhm.
because I want to impart the tools that will empower the instrument. Then, and I'm a stickler. I stop constantly, which is so frustrating. But you know what?
Sure.
They don't want to hear me talk anymore, so they learn how to do it right. The bottom line is, after it's, I stop, drop your jaw, where's your tongue, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I just, all of a sudden, one day, they go, oh my God, I felt it. And you can see their eyes well up with, my eyes well up with tears too. The technique ultimately frees you to be what? The best storyteller you can be. So
Mm.
if you're singing, you know, I don't even know what's coming. Any song in musical theater. What's our job? It's to be a storyteller with an open heart. And the more we're in control of the instrument that is expressing that story, the better we can be. And the more we can move people. And bottom line is, as an entertainer, we are an educator, an enlightener, a storyteller. Um, we do it all. We take people away from their bills. We take people away from so many beautiful things, but the better we do it. And something that I'm having a little bit of an issue lately, a lot of acting teachers are saying, oh, don't worry about the singing. You know, what's artistry? You're acting,
Yeah.
you're singing, you're dancing, all in that same level of expertise that people are like, wow.
Hmm. The we were talking about Oklahoma a little bit earlier, and Oklahoma, I think, is that kind of seminal moment where you have to sing, and the singing is integrated. The songs are integrated into the story, and it pushed the story forward because you have to sing because you can't talk anymore. The emotions have become so much that they burst out of you in a different way because these thoughts and these feelings are doing what they're doing to you. There has to be emotion in that story, in that song telling, in that song. But what I'm hearing you say is that there has to be emotion, but the technique of it, you can show the emotion in your face and doing what you're doing, but the
In your
technique of
heart.
it you have to protect yourself with that. The
Right.
technique is
Now,
going to protect
you said something that just spurred me. The thing about the teens now, there's so much competition, there's
you.
social media. I just want them to, I can have a pimply face, braces on their teeth, uh, unattractive at this point in their life kid come into
Sure.
I will find their beauty because
Yeah.
I was that kid. And I know how helpful it was to have someone they respect, hopefully, to see their beauty. And I say all the time, there's only one Peter Kramer. There's only one Celeste Simone. There's only one Christian Chenoweth. You have to know who you are, honey. So when you
Yeah.
sing, oh, what a beautiful morning, or I could have danced all night, or a lovely night, you're only singing it as you. So there's the one and only. I have a
Mm.
quote that I can't remember from Dr. Seuss, one and only you. So
Hmm.
part of the journey of teaching teens and even kids that are in the business, oh my God, this business is so hard, 25 auditions and one callback maybe, is to celebrate who they are and what do they feel,
Hmm.
and character study. There's no time in a lot of these high school shows to do character study. Well, what was Eponine's, what was, Laurie's life like? Did she blah, blah, blah? There's always something. It's just so fun. But I think
Right.
a lot of the kids go to be in the lead, be in the lead, be in the lead.
Yeah.
I
Well,
love when my students get the lead, but, it's not everything.
sure. Take me to that because I really want this to be a useful something that people can take away from our conversation. Not that they haven't taken away plenty already, but let's get down to that first session. You have lots of first sessions with kids where you see they come in and you show them the vocal cords and you kind of scare them with that and there's pedagogy to it. But what are some of the things you hear from singers, whether they're young or old, that you wish you didn't hear? Something I could give you a magic wand right now, and I could say you could get rid of this problem right now, but you have to tell me what the problem is. What are the problems that you see routinely that that can be corrected without you know, relatively easily, or just to be thinking about or worrying about?
Well, there's all kinds of, first of all, yelling. I always say, why are you yelling at me? And they laugh, and then they have to understand what yelling and what good supported volume is. Pete, I wish I could give you, for high school students, Mom, Do not just drop your student off and let them go up until you know the integrity of that teacher. Sit in on those lessons.
Mm.
And if your teacher, I say again at master classes, because I'm with Broadway Artists Alliance, Camp Broadway, Roger Rees Awards, if your teacher isn't lovingly picking at you, run to the door.
Hmm.
You need to be picked on, but you need to do it. I just had a gentleman write a testimony for my website, and I'm not going to say he's applying to colleges. He studied for years. He didn't study. He didn't know so much. These kids have to know about cuts, key changes, working with the track, video submissions, how to stand, if they're using a mic. I mean, there's so much to learn. And if they
Mhm.
just grabbed it when they were 16, 15, by the time they're in college, or even, I'm a big one if you live close to New York, and don't ask me about musical theater colleges. Okay. Um, uh, if you are, I believe study is forever, but if you live
Mhm.
close to New York, take a year, go to RCC, go to your local community college, get your gen eds, and get into New York. Get on Backstage, get on Actors Access, get on um, Broadway World, and submit and go in and audition and see what the real world of show business is like. These
Mm.
kids are spending, what is NYU, $104,000 a semester. $100,000 a semester.
A
And
year,
then
a semester, a year.
a year. Yeah, a year, excuse
Yeah.
me. And
Wow.
then they get out and they're in debt, and then they want to get an apartment in New York. I mean, finances are something to think about.
Sure.
Um, there are some very great colleges that are not Carnegie Mellon, Michigan, and I love them. I mean, Cynthia, who is the head of musical theater at Michigan, is on the faculty at Kristen Chenoweth. She's fabulous and she cares. But there
Yeah.
are smaller, less expensive schools, and there's New York City. Go to Broadway Dance, take your private, blah, blah, blah. That's what I would say to parents. Be more
Yeah.
involved. Just don't drop. Because then when they call me and go, well, she's getting hoarse all the time. Well, that's not good, you know,
Right.
and they're
The
studying.
I've seen recently um, some great actors talking about the audition process, basically saying they look at the audition as the job. My job is to go and audition, and whatever comes of it is gravy. I want to make the most. I want to enjoy that audition. I want to work that audition and make it work for me. What am I going to try in this audition that will make that will be something I've never tried before, or I'll make a choice in this audition that I've never tried, or and come out of it and say, you know what, I'm good. I did that. I aced that audition as far as I'm concerned. I learned something from that audition, and I think it's so healthy to look at it, to approach it that way, to say, they're working for me today. They're giving me a chance to try
Your five
something.
minutes to perform,
I have a there's a
especially in the real world.
right,
I
right. So
agree
if
with
you
that totally. I mean, I say to my students, we're picking, picking, picking. You walk into that room, I don't care. You're going to remember something. The muscle has memory. You will remember some technique. The first time out of the gate from working with me, I say, don't even think about technique. Go in and be yourself and see what sticks. And I say in my booklet, give yourself a pat on the back. No matter how you think you did it.
hmm.
Most auditions are 5 minutes long. Please don't spend the next 24 hours perseverating over those 5 minutes. And go eat some chocolate. Do something nice for yourself. That's
Right.
another, to digress of what we spoke about before. When you go in, also, I know why I worked all the time, because I worked in bars. I was a cabaret, swung drinks, and sang. And you learn who you are, and you know what makes a crowd. I remember booking 9 at Paper Mill. And I
Mm.
just thought, oh, this is like a cabaret night. The
Yeah.
more they know who they are, the more they're going to walk into the room. And I have come in the room and they come in like this. Oh, hello. What is that saying about you? You know,
Sure.
walk in with confidence, open your heart. You have tools to hang on to. How do you stand? Do you say good morning? They want you to be right for this. So
Hmm.
the point I'm trying is like, just go in and have a good time. And after about 6 months, they come back and they go, oh my God, I sang well and I had a good time. You know, technique takes a long time to incorporate rhythms, notes, placement, breathing, interpretation. It's a hard job. It's not cancer research, but it's hard.
Right. And so I hear you saying parents and students kind of interrogate your teacher in terms of what they're giving you and how they're giving it to you. Don't yell. Enjoy the audition. What other tips do you have for them, Celeste? And it's just in terms of how to approach this. Okay, is there something you could say briefly about breath and what how they should?
Well,
I'm asking you. I'm asking an encyclopedia to give me a blurb, but it's
blurb.
what I do.
Um, my breathing technique that I use is not mine. I say this is God and science. We have a respiratory system and we're working with our body. So if I see a student blowing their belly out, uh, hello, what did God give us lungs for? To put air into our lungs. And what happens? What orifices do we use to breathe? The nose and the mouth. Well, really everything, all the cells. You breathe in through the nose, it creates an internal lift, an internal smile, which is really good for resonant, not nasal, resonant placement. The air goes down the trachea or the windpipe, and they learn about, sometimes I'll give a review and they're like, you're my student and you don't know where I'm not, I want to hope that my students remember all this stuff, but periodically I will ask, okay, so in through the nose and the mouth slightly open, as if you're smelling something delicious. Air goes down the trachea, which is a tube that fills up the lungs. The lungs get fat, and the diaphragm, which separates the thoracic cavity from the lower cavity, lower abdominals, it says, oh shit, let me get out of the way. There's air, and air has weight. So the diaphragm goes down and expands against the rib cage. Now you're ready to sing. How do you control the exhalation of air? With your lower abdominal muscles, your core muscles, your root chakra, the bowel of your body. That's not me. That is science. Science.
Right.
So then we learn that, and then it, then it then we I, it just happens. I said before, I cannot ever go online and do something. I admire, Cheryl Porter. I admire Eric Vitro. So many voice students I admire, but I couldn't do it because I want to. I don't want to be famous. I like being respected, but I don't care about being on the internet. And God bless them for it. Yeah, God bless them. Part of me wish I could do that. And I have a wonderful I shouldn't say kid, young man, Joel Crumb, who is Broadway time, and he's on the red carpet, and he's now been hired by News 12 to do the entertainment stuff. And
Mhm.
he wants to do something with me online. I was like, no way. I'm 70 years old. I'm very happy with my little thing. Okay, did I answer any of your
You did.
questions, Peter?
You did. But I have one thing I want to ask you about, which is you talked about technique, you talked about the physiological aspect and the anatomical aspects of it. You talked about your headspace, where you are in terms of when you go into the audition room and not yelling and talking about your teachers. But can we talk for a second about acting a song, about putting yourself in that moment? Every Broadway star I've ever interviewed, and I've been lucky enough to interview everybody from, Faith Prince and Christine Ebersol to Bernadette Peters and Patty Lupone,
I
and
just
I
talked to
always
Faith
ask,
the other day. I just
oh,
talked to Faith the other day. I love her.
she's amazing. She's amazing and so real. But the question I always ask them, and universally they'll say the same thing, which is when you're Faith Prince and you're singing "Take Back Your Mink," because you have to sing that song if you're doing a cabaret. People expect a little bit of Adelaide when they go to see Faith Prince, perhaps. And if you want to give that to them, do you put yourself back in that moment in the show when Nathan has let you down yet again? Do you put yourself back there? And they always say, yes, I have to go back to that spot in the show to know the stakes and the consequences of the song in order to act it correctly. There's
What's
not a lot of character. You were just talking about how in high school there's not a lot of time for character work. We want the notes. We need you to be in your light. We've got the set change that we've got to worry about. There aren't enough kids to move the sets. Talk a little bit about that. And do you get into that as a vocal teacher?
okay? First of all, Tatum Hopkins just came to mind.
Oh,
NIAC student, and that's that story, wonderful story. Tatum has a beautiful voice, but everybody, what do I want to say here about acting? Yes, I do. There isn't enough time for everything, but after we've picked a song, we've picked a key, I've given the music in the correct key, we've marked it for our breath, all the technical stuff. Now, why did you pick this song? What does this mean? Now, sometimes can any high school kid really, or most, relate to Eponine or
right.
Cosette? So what I say, I leave it up to the acting coaches, and we have many good acting coaches up here in Rockland. And in fact, one of my favorite that I recommend is Randy Graff, who was the original Fontaine. She teaches class in New York, and she does wonderful work with teens. What I ask simplistically, there's too much vocal stuff, but what does this mean to you? And they usually go, I don't know. Well,
Yeah.
we read through the lyric. I subtext everything. What does that line mean? It doesn't have to be all, because it's not, when they're going into an audition and they're generally just singing a song of their own, they have to relate to it in some way. And it's also a way of teaching style. Some teachers teach monologue. You know what, Peter? Bottom line is I leave that to the acting teacher, but I definitely say, what does this mean to you? Why are
Sure.
you singing it?
Mm-hmm.
And then how to turn a phrase and how to color a note. That's, what do you feel? What does that feel like? And magic comes out of it. Even with the youngest of kids, you can get, and when they feel it for the first time, that's when they get that bug.
Do you think kids, and this is probably my last question, but do you think kids should audition with the song from the show, or is it better to show a little range by doing something that's
Oh,
in the
that's funny.
style? But
That's so funny. I think it depends. Yesterday, I had a girl. She's has an audition for Ado Annie, and the director said, "Oh, you could sing her song." So we went into her book. She was singing it a step below the original key. So I said, "Well, let's do it in the original key, because if you're going to do Oklahoma, you're going to sing it in the original key." And it was a little edgy. She's going to get it, but not for an audition in 3 days.
mm-hmm.
So I said, I think what you should do is go in with something that you sound fantastic on, and you have this Ado Annie feel to it. And then if they call you back, we work it in the original key. Or a young man, he went to the A1s, cute kid, but a character, nerdy. So they wanted to hear something else. So he says, "Oh, maybe I'll do Empty Chairs and Empty Tables." I said, "No, honey, it's too far from character. Let's pick
Sure.
something that's, it's really teaching all aspects of the business, and everyone is different. I had a mother this morning at 7:00. "Can I talk to you? Her daughter has pneumonia. What do we do about the singing?" Being a voice teacher, I had a beautiful voice teacher, Ilse Sass. She lived on 96th Street and she had the little door next to the big door. And before we sang, we'd have to have lemonade and iced tea. And her sister Lainey made tuna fish and egg salad. And then we'd sing. She was a German Jew who was a Holocaust survivor. And
Wow.
she was the greatest voice teacher in the world. And no, she was not the greatest voice teacher in the world. She taught me how to make my studio safe, welcoming, and loving. Another teacher I had at Manhattan School of Music taught me everything not to be. He would call me a disgrace. I didn't have good teachers, and I didn't know what it meant to really study. And he would call me a disgraziata, Miss Magnani, disgraziata. And he dropped me from his studio, second year at Manhattan School of Music. He taught me, and I got back at him later when he came to one of my shows. But anyway, you learn from everybody what to be, what not to be. And did I answer that question? Yes, sometimes you have to sing. And nowadays, the pros, your agent gets you the material and you have to learn the material. And sometimes these young people have to learn pages and pages of music and dialogue, and they don't even get to sing it all. It's
right.
It's not,
Right.
not good.
Well, we were good. And actually, as I think there's a quote here somewhere, you know what you're talking about. And I think I have a quote here from Andrew Lloyd Webber who said, she knows what she's talking about. So thank you so much,
you're
Celeste,
welcome.
for joining me. And it was a great conversation. I think there's something to take away from this for anybody who's interested in voice and is looking at a high school show coming up.
I will say one more thing about
yes.
Here's the thing that bothers me. They don't take lessons all year long. And then they get the part and then they hustle for lessons. You can't do a huge musical with one lesson, half hour. And I'm working Saturdays and Sundays now and charging for a half an hour, but giving 45 minutes and an hour to get some of these kids ready for shows that it is out of their vocal.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's a year-round. It's an ongoing thing. You gotta keep the instrument in shape, right?
Even if it's every other week.
Yeah.
And I always I don't have any room, but I always give community people a break in price and then another break if they pay cash. I shouldn't say that. I try to be fair. Some of these teachers that it's, if you don't give me 24 hours, life happens, family happens, sickness happens.
Sure.
So I try. Anyway, I'll shut up. This was fun, Peter. Thank you, Pete.
Oh, it was great talking with you. Thank you so much. And hold on, and we'll talk off camera. But thank you so much. Great talking with you. I'm so glad
God bless
so
everybody.
glad you're out there.
Thank you. God bless you.
That's better.